I wanted to get along with my new roommate, but accidentally washed his underwear wrong and got caught. Ethan frowned slightly, his warning crisp. Chase, I'm not into guys. Don't use it for that. I bristled. You think I am? Later I forgot myself, pinning his hand against my pectorals. Babe, you don't like something this big? When I was doing laundry, my new roommate came to the balcony. Sunlight dappled his porcelain complexion, making even the simple act of retrieving clothes look like some elegant crane spreading its wings. As a die-hard straight guy, I still caught myself staring. Ethan suddenly turned. I scrubbed furiously at the fabric, feigning nonchalance. Need something? He lowered lashes that trembled like moth wings, voice uneasy. Chase, I don't swing that way. Seriously? One glance makes me gay? Pretty face doesn't equal universal attraction. I snorted. Think I do? Ethan's lips pressed into a pale line, looking fragile enough to shatter. Then why take my underwear? 3 heartbeats passed before I looked down. Similar color. Nearly identical pattern. But clearly smaller. Wrong pair. My brain scrambled for apologies while my mouth went rogue. What's the big deal? Free laundry service. His glacial glare burned crimson across his cheekbones. Unwanted. I clawed at my buzz cut, desperate to vanish, chasing him with increasingly absurd apologies. Missing how Ethan's lips curled in fleeting amusement. Ethan had transferred to our dorm mid-semester. First sight struck me 5 feet 11 inches, education major. Ink black hair framing milk pale skin. That rebellious streak of silver in his wolf cut. Exactly the good boy gone rogue. His manners matched the angelic looks. All honeyed words that could sweet-talk embryos. Could you grab my towel? Chase. Next thing I knew, I'd polished his bed frame. His earring glinted as he tossed me a hand-stitched candy pouch. Homemade. Try some. Not overly sweet, but addictive. Like Ethan himself. Days later, I found myself seeking his company. Yet Ethan kept a polite distance, drifting solo despite his old friend group. Rumor said he'd switched dorms over cleanliness obsessions and touch aversion. I sniffed my post-workout shirt. Better shower before. Who knew hygiene could backfire? Now he probably thought me some pervert. Desperate explanations changed nothing. Ethan finally sighed. Just don't repeat this. Relief flooded me, nodding hard enough to rattle vertebrae. I missed the mischief ghosting his features. There was no way he'd want those boxers back after everything. But I washed and kept them anyway, couldn't risk some creep finding them in the trash. Bought a new pair to replace them. Too nervous to hand them over directly, I waited until Chase was out and stealthily tucked the package under his sheets. Oliver spotted it immediately, hollering like he'd discovered contraband. Yo, Chase, what's this fancy gift for Ethan? Wrapped all proper and everything. I scowled, shoulders tensing. Quit making up dumb nicknames. He rolled his eyes. Come on. Doesn't he look exactly like one? Annoyingly, he wasn't wrong. Ethan moved with that same quiet grace. All clean lines and muted elegance, a swan trapped among rowdy ducks. He never asked about the mystery package. But sometimes when changing shirts by his bunk, I'd catch glimpses of pale fabric clinging to his hips. Should have realized buying my usual brand in basic white would backfire. Never expected the sight to lodge in my throat like this. Had to look away fast. We started hanging out more after the underwear incident. What burned was watching Mason and Oliver orbit him like hyperactive moons. Ethan took culinary electives, bringing back perfect macarons and lemon tarts that those 2 morons shamelessly begged for. Ethan. Bro. We've got your back anytime. Ethan. Hook us up again. Pretty please? Disgusting. My knuckles whitened around my pencil until something cool pressed into my palm. Only the good chocolate got the clean mold lines? Ethan murmured, lips quirking. Don't let the vultures see. Thanks. His smile did weird things to my ribs. Obviously, I remained his favorite. Kid had taste. Turns out Ethan's Achilles heel was penmanship. Professor Hart's calligraphy seminar, 8 students alive, failed a third of the class last semester. Watching him redo assignments for the 5th time, Mason and Oliver turned pleading eyes my way. Chase, didn't you medal in the calligraphy invitational? Help him out. We'll refill your gym bottle all week. Like I needed bribes. Ethan glanced up, graphite smudging his knuckles. Please? Suddenly hyper-aware of the single desk lamp casting shadows across his collarbones, I hovered behind him. My darker hand engulfed his pale one when guiding the brush. He stiffened momentarily. Guess no one ever held his hand through stroke work before. Stop improvising. Follow the template. My voice came out gruffer than intended. He nodded, hairbrushing my chin. That scent again, fresh linen? Vanilla? Leaning closer to identify was a mistake. Ethan shifted, unaware of the friction against my hips, until he twisted abruptly, confusion dawning in those wide eyes. Chase, why were you? I rocketed backward, nearly taking the curtain rod down in my scramble to the bathroom. Mason hooped about performance anxiety while Oliver cackled. Idiots. Let them laugh. Better than anyone guessing the real reason my jeans felt 2 sizes too tight. What's wrong? Did Chase suddenly lose his temper? Ethan, whom I'd left behind, slowly packed up his brushes and inkstone, seemingly in a good mood as he subtly curled his lips. Maybe he hates me and can't stand teaching anymore. I splashed cold water on my face several times in the bathroom before barely suppressing those filthy thoughts. Was it really necessary? Ethan had just moved slightly. What the hell had I done? I trampled all over his biggest pet peeves. Forget being bros, he must think I'm a total creep now. When I emerged, Ethan had already gone to bed. Mason and Oliver kept blowing up my phone with messages about Ethan being pissed. I should have apologized, but I couldn't face his disgusted expression. The avoidance lasted several days, and Ethan naturally began distancing himself too. My chest felt increasingly tight, my expression growing darker. Mason and Oliver stayed confused, not knowing whose side to take, so they rarely came back to the dorm. Until that afternoon nap when I heard the heavy thud of something falling. Ethan had slipped while climbing the ladder. Thankfully it wasn't high, he just lost balance and stumbled, his lower back hitting a chair. I pinned him down and pulled his waistband to inspect the blossoming bruise on pale skin. Stay still, I murmured. It'll feel better after some massage. He turned his head, stubbornly pressing his pale lips together. Don't bother. I'll do it myself. Something primal surged in me, gripping his narrow waist. I went straight for the bruise. Ethan gasped in pain, legs buckling as he weakly clung to my arm. Trembling, I tightened my left arm around him while ruthlessly kneading the injury with my right hand until the bruise dispersed. Beneath my palms, his breathing turned shallow and uneven. My dirty impulses evaporated when Ethan's icy words hit. Chase? Stop pretending if you hate me. I ground my molars, urgently explaining. I don't hate you. That accident. I was scared. I'm sorry. Ethan lowered his lashes, though his fuzzy earlobes betrayed a blush. It's fine. I know it was an accident. Just, if we're friends, stop avoiding me. Okay. My Adam's apple bobbed as I agreed. After our reconciliation, Mason and Oliver became ridiculously cheerful, though they still rarely returned to the dorm. Somehow, despite their constant bickering, they developed an impenetrable dynamic. Ethan and I naturally grew closer, attending lectures together, hitting the cafeteria, roaming around town. His emotional stability and wide-ranging interests made him easy company, never forcing his views on others. Having compatible friends felt surprisingly good. Except when Ethan displayed clueless rebellion, likely from zero familiarity with queer culture. Even when directly probed about our relationship, he'd tilt his head innocently. Why wouldn't I get along with Chase? Playfully hooking my finger. He'd add, he's got my back. As a straight guy who'd seen plenty of LGBTQ peers, I alternated between exasperation and amusement, gripping his fist in retaliation. That's not what he meant. Never mind. Let them misunderstand. I had no plans for college romance anyway, and Ethan probably felt the same. The escalating rumors brought unexpected trouble. A guy with a chicken wing physique actually dared to corner me. Big brother said you weren't gay when rejecting me, but suddenly turned for Ethan. Explain. He sneered, puffing his non-existent chest. What's he got that I don't? My eyebrows knitted tight enough to crush flies as I turned away. You. Compared to Ethan? Worried he'd harass Ethan too. I threw over my shoulder, and yeah, I'm straight. We're just friends. Spread lies and I'll deck you. His eyes lit up like a raccoon spotting trash. Then be my friend too. More friends, more options. Post-basketball sweat made me irritable, flexing my biceps. I growled, try following me again. As he slunk off, Ethan appeared right on schedule with my water bottle. I reached eagerly only for him to press the cold plastic against my sweaty forehead instead. His smile held new edges. Just friends? I wiped condensation onto my jersey, grinning. Obviously. He tossed the bottle, sighing. Too bad campus Reddit disagrees. We need distance before this snowballs. My confusion morphed into technicolor rage upon opening our school forum. The ghost town site now overflowed with Chase/Ethan fanfiction. A single photo spawned entire sagas. Ethan's sprained ankle ride to class. Chase the mutt went too hard last night. Poor Ethan can't even walk. Applying cream to Ethan's allergic rash. Dog literally marking his territory. If the neck's this bad, imagine under the clothes. Our casual arm around shoulders. Possessive much? Threatening to punish Ethan for eye contact? Bet their roommates hear headboard banging nightly. According to these creative writing majors, Ethan and I were having Olympic-level sex daily. Even Mason and Oliver avoiding our dorm became proof after someone heard bed creaks. My furious typing, Chase Young isn't gay. Ethan Smith isn't either. Got roasted. Who's triggered? They wouldn't touch you either way. Hi. Ethan here. Totally platonic. Except when Chase's thermos pokes me in bed. Sure, Jan. You're the straight one here? Outnumbered. I surrendered. The solution was avoiding Ethan until rumors died. By lunchtime, I cracked. Since when was bro bonding illegal? Every step toward Ethan made him retreat. He wagged a teasing finger. Ah, they're watching. I glared at invisible spectators, itching to drag him back to our room where touch wasn't criminalized. The forced distance felt like withdrawal shakes. Even if I really did what those made-up stories on the forums suggested, no one would have seen anything. After much struggle, I finally convinced Ethan to sit next to me during lunch. Ethan barely touched his food before pushing his tray toward me. I continued eating without hesitation, having grown accustomed to this routine. Suddenly remembering something, I casually reached over to feel his abdomen. Flat as a board. You clearly haven't eaten enough. Not a fan of cafeteria food? Ethan turned out to be unexpectedly ticklish, his body trembling as he tried to squirm away. I kept my hand there longer than necessary, enjoying how his lean frame felt surprisingly firm beneath my fingers. His entire body shuddered like he'd been zapped by static electricity, teeth sinking into his lower lip. By the time I withdrew my hand, Ethan had slumped against me with glassy eyes, his pupils momentarily unfocused. Since he initiated the contact first, this shouldn't count as breaking the rules, right? My guilty thoughts scattered when Ethan abruptly stood up and walked out without a word. Did I piss him off? I scrambled after him, but within 2 steps past the cafeteria doors, he'd vanished. Frantically typing and deleting apologies in our chat, I finally settled on, I went too far. Sorry. The usually easygoing Ethan replied with uncharacteristic brevity, yeah. Cowed by his terseness, I tentatively asked when he'd return to the dorm. See you later. Later turned out to mean midnight. Surprisingly, Ethan returned in good spirits. Oliver sniffed the air like a bloodhound. Smells amazing. Did you bake cookies again? Mason's eyes danced between Ethan and me. You're glowing, Ethan. Good news? Ethan pressed his lips together but couldn't suppress twin dimples. Nothing special. After baking, some freshman girl asked for my contact. Gave her the cookies too. My stomach dropped. You gave them to her? Oliver looked heartbroken but managed to clap my shoulder. Worth sacrificing our snacks if it gets Ethan his first girlfriend. Ethan's cheeks pinkened. I'll bake more for you guys next time. I felt like lightning had struck me. How did everything change so drastically in hours? Noticing my dark expression, Mason forcibly redirected Oliver's attention to their horror movie. Stepping into Ethan's space, unfamiliar anger surged through me. Since when does taking someone's contact mean you're dating? The warmth faded from Ethan's smile. At least she's being nice about it. My lips twisted. I'm not nice enough? I have your contact too. Does that mean I want to date you? All traces of humor vanished. Just, I get you're upset about losing your cafeteria buddy, but this constant bad attitude? It's exhausting. Exhausting? I coldly met his amber gaze. Is that what I am now? Our standoff left the room suffocatingly tense. Mason and Oliver pretended intense interest in their movie, jacking up the volume to drown out the awkwardness. The amplified screams of fictional victims did nothing to ease the real-life tension crackling between us. Turn up the volume. Will you? I said stiffly. Whatever. Ethan paused. Never mind. We endured the awkwardness until lights out when everyone wordlessly retreated to their beds. Mason remained detached while Oliver, ever the carefree one, soon started snoring rhythmically. The upper bunk where Ethan lay appeared still too still. I remembered he usually tossed around for at least 20 minutes before sleeping. Yet now he didn't move an inch. Not my problem. Let him stay awake. 3 minutes later, I climbed into Ethan's bunk. Not that I cared, but curiosity gnawed at me about his sudden insomnia. He lay curled like a frightened kitten, shoulders trembling faintly. So the horror movie had spooked him. When he was being fierce with me earlier, where did all that bravery go? I wordlessly commandeered half his blanket, clamping my hand over his mouth as he gasped. Keep quiet and sleep. His eyelashes fluttered against my palm as he whispered hoarsely, I'll behave. Just, you can go now. Since when did I take orders? I deliberately sprawled across the narrow mattress, my muscular frame occupying most space. Sleep. We've got 8 a.m. class. He fell silent. Wrapping my arms around his slender frame, I drifted off despite his initial resistance. When I felt him pressed awkwardly against the wall, I simply tugged him flush against my chest. Much better. Morning found Ethan still nestled in my embrace, fair lashes trembling with each breath. I watched longer than necessary until Mason and Oliver's movements downstairs prompted me to pinch his cool earlobe. Rise and shine. He blinked awake, flushed cheeks colliding with my well-defined pecs. Chase. I grunted noncommittally, unwilling to let last night's argument fade unaddressed, then casually descended from his bunk. Oliver's eyes bulged. Chase. Ethan. You too? Catching Ethan's silent plea, I suppressed a smirk. That horror film messed me up. Couldn't sleep without company. Ethan took pity. Oliver skeptically eyed my bulging biceps. Didn't peg you for the jumpy type. Mason simply chuckled knowingly. During our separate morning lectures, I texted Ethan about lunch as usual. With his twig arms, he'd never make it through cafeteria crowds. 5 minutes passed before his reply, frowny face, busy today. Can't meet. Bullshit. Since when did Ethan have secrets from me? Clearly prioritizing some crush over friends. The restlessness that had been gnawing at me since last night churned violently, stealing my appetite. Yet my insatiable curiosity drove me to stake out Ethan's usual spot at dining hall 2. True to form, there he was laughing softly at some freshman girl's casual remarks over lunch. Each chuckle grated on my nerves until I found myself glaring openly. When Ethan suddenly looked my way, I ducked behind a pillar like some middle school crush-stricken idiot. He materialized before me with tilted head. Chase. What brings you here? This isn't your private dining room. I snapped, pulse racing. Can't I just grab a meal here? His eyes crinkled in that infuriatingly patient smile. No tray though. Tired of cafeteria food? Let me treat you off campus. My silence became consent. As Ethan waved goodbye to his lunch companion across the hall, some primitive part of me preened like I'd won a competition. At the hot pot place, he insisted on paying. You've covered me plenty. Especially after last night, the scalding broth burned my tongue before I could school my reaction. Without missing a beat, Ethan slid over chilled water, constellations dancing in his gaze. Slow down. People might think you're starved for company. The words scalded worse than the soup. What's that supposed to mean? You ditching me now? A blush crept up his neck. About last night's outburst. Turns out Lucy actually likes me. We had a good talk today. So, his smile turned apologetic. Guess I won't need that pity celebration after all. Celebration? I wanted to flip the damn table. If this were Mason or Oliver, I'd be clapping backs. But Ethan? My Ethan? Unacceptable. You're young, hot, and drowning in options. Why rush into this? College isn't rushing. Should I wait till retirement? His laugh pierced my chest. Graduation was supposed to be our golden era shared apartment. Commutes, gaming nights. The realization hit like a rogue wave. My days-long fury wasn't about protecting him, it was pure, ugly possessiveness. But how could I voice that? I forced a shrug. My bad yesterday. Thought you were being reckless. If she's the one, your big bro's got your back. Need cash for decent gifts? Just ask. Ethan's smile dimmed. Sure thing, bro. The following days became torture. Ethan vanished before dawn. returning after lights out. Our paths only crossed in crowded lectures. By Friday night, withdrawal had me crawling into his dorm bed again. Those idiots marathoned horror flicks all day. I lied, nestling into his sheets. Couldn't sleep alone. Ethan simply lifted the covers in welcome. Morning brought mortification when I awoke to certain developments, forcing a strategic bathroom retreat. Yet like an addict, I kept inventing excuses to invade his space. Let his girlfriend deal with stolen nights. This battlefield had no rules. The first few times Chase and Oliver reacted with shock, but eventually grew indifferent. Ethan went from skeptical to utterly bewildered. Chase, why do you insist on sharing my bed? I didn't know the answer myself. Thinking fast, I mumbled, we never get daytime hangouts. They exclude me from everything. It's lonely. His expression softened instantly. Ethan reached up to touch my buzz cut. Let's play badminton tomorrow? Just us two. No third wheels. Guilt prickled my conscience. Mason and Oliver had invited me to basketball at least 8 times, but I'd only joined once or twice. Annoyed by their PDA. But tomorrow meant whole hours with Ethan. I pulled him closer, watching his face nestle into my pectorals until we both drifted off. True to his word, Ethan gave me an unforgettable day. As twilight painted the sky, his phone buzzed. He flashed an apologetic smile. Head back first? I need to pick up Lucy. Of course. I bought extra snacks to placate my roommates, only to freeze at the dorm threshold. Mason and Oliver were locked in a passionate makeout session. When Mason noticed me, he tried pushing Oliver away, but the latter pinned his waist and deepened the kiss. Mason promised me 60 minutes. Oliver growled between bruising kisses. It took me whole minutes to reboot. I slammed the door. You two are gay? Oliver licked swollen lips. You and Ethan aren't? Wait, haven't even kissed? Damn. That's wholesome. Mason added slyly. Never wondered how Ethan's lips would feel against yours? My brain short-circuited. Ethan's pale lips would blush beautifully under mine. Cool and sweet like matcha cream. Slightly chilled. Wait, am I gay? Straight guys don't fantasize like this. Yet imagining anyone but Ethan repulsed me. Maybe orientation didn't matter. Only Ethan did. Fate smiled twice. As I researched how to homewreck as a dude, Ethan returned heartbroken from a failed confession. Drenched like a storm-tossed kitten. I'm worthless. He sobbed into my chest. Tears soaking through my shirt. My throat tightened. With Mason and Oliver out, I fumbled for comfort. Don't say that, Ethan. They're right. Nobody wants me. No, that's not it. My heart shattered as I cupped his face, abandoning all restraint. I like you. I really like you. Will you be my boyfriend? Ethan froze. When he didn't object after a heartbeat, I claimed those lips I'd fantasized about for so long. Soft, sweet. 1,000 times better than I'd imagined. I couldn't get enough. Morning light revealed Ethan with a neck full of love bites nestled in my arms, the reality feeling dreamlike. What? No escape now. His lashes fluttered awake to my insistent kisses. Morning. Babe. Morning. I cleared my throat. I'll walk you to class. Okay. Have dinner with me after. Okay. Now kiss me. Ethan belatedly covered his swollen lips. Chase. You agreed last night. Boyfriend duties. I feigned annoyance. Unless you're backing out? He lowered his gaze in silent surrender. I took full advantage, losing track of time until we nearly missed class. Through the lecture, I kept texting him nonsense, grinning at every emoji reply. When dismissal finally came, I bolted up, only to get delayed by a last-minute announcement. Ethan wasn't at our meeting spot. No replies. My jaw tightened. After interrogating half the campus, I tracked him to Swan Lake, Lover's Lane. The relief seeing him with another guy lasted 2 seconds. This scrawny bastard had Ethan backed against a tree, attempting some pathetic wall-slamming move. Ethan, I messed up. Lucas's voice oozed fake remorse. Let's be friends again. Maybe more? Ethan's usual gentleness vanished in a scoff. God, you're that basic straight dude who thinks every gay guy wants him. Newsflash, you're not special. Lucas paled. But in the dorm, you always, ever consider I was just being decent? Ethan's smile turned razor sharp. Guess who reported your scholarship fraud? When Lucas swung, my boot met his ribs before conscious thought. The crunch echoed satisfyingly across the lake. Ethan's mischievous cat-like grin froze at the corners of his lips. His eyes widened gradually. Chase, you're here? I suppressed a smirk. Michem, your partner's present. He nibbled his lower lip. So, you heard everything? Every word. Ethan hung his head dejectedly. I lied. I wasn't kicked out because of germophobia. They couldn't accept me being gay. Chase, I'll move out this week. Please don't tell Mason and Oliver. Okay. I almost laughed. Mason and Oliver had been having heated arguments for days, yet Ethan still worried about protecting them. But seeing the deep teeth marks he'd left on his own lips, my amusement faded. I pried open his damp mouth with my fingers. Stop that. This changes nothing. I'm queer too. And wait, does this mean things with Lucy were fake? Ethan nodded shamefully. Everyone misunderstood us. I didn't want to tarnish your reputation. So I asked this girl from another school to pretend, tried to create distance. But you always seemed so lonely. So I broke up with her. This is all my fault. If I'd stayed away. Best thing that ever happened to me. My grin could have outshone a lottery winner's. When his melancholy persisted, I pulled him into my arms, peppering kisses across his tousled hair. Silly boy. I fell for you at first sight. What could you possibly have done? His confused blink mirrored a kitten's. The colors match. The patterns too. But why is it smaller? Hush. I murmured against his temple. We'll discuss this properly tonight. I always get what I want. This time was no exception. Even when unexpected complications arose, my chosen prey remained oblivious, utterly consumed by affection for me. His blind devotion moved me. His naivety endeared him. Mason rolled his eyes. Dude, save your pity for yourself. He arranged the remaining dorm supplies, wincing as he straightened. Fucking Oliver? That bastard. What's with the medications? I eyed the tubes he'd left. You'll find out tonight. His ominous chuckle should have warned me. When realization struck, it was too late. Sobs tore from my throat with unprecedented sincerity. Chase, I seduced you on purpose. Let's break up. Chase paused his ministrations to kiss my nose. Baby's talking nonsense again. Can't understand a word. His hands, however, moved with crystal clarity. Since when did prey get to pin down the hunter?